Oh God, I'm getting so sick of all these fragrance reviews where they keep talking about compliments. I mean, how come I never get any? I've got loads of subscribers, loads of fragrances, I never get any compliments. Well, at least I like this guy, Imagine Sense. He's good.
This one at the number 7 spot is called Valentino Uomo Intense. Crazy experience is all I have to say about this fragrance. I wore this to a bonfire one time and it was getting compliments all night long. Like on the ride to the bonfire, it was getting compliments in the car, at the bonfire, people smelled it, they loved it, and on the ride back from the bonfire, guys, it was still going strong, still getting compliments. So that was probably one of my most memorable experience, most amazing experience with fragrances in terms of compliments and
Hello everyone, so today we're going to be doing a comparison between Bleu de Chanel Eau de Toilette and Bleu de Chanel Eau de Parfum. The original Bleu de Chanel Eau de Toilette was released back in 2010 and is characterized by a fresh ambience combined with some woody masculine elements. We have some pink pepper, grapefruit and marine accord in there. In the base there's some frankincense and I think some generalized kind of woody notes are in there. So a really popular, high selling fragrance from the house of Chanel, a kind of jack of all trades, a little bit fresh, masculine, modern smelling, very popular. Criticism would be that it's a little bit dull or generic, some people might say. Along came in 2014 Bleu de Chanel Eau de Parfum. This one added a little bit of amber in the base. The other notes look mostly very similar. The Eau de Parfum concentration, it should make a difference. Most people say it's a similar smell, a little bit smoother, less zesty and fresh and bright in the beginning, and perhaps a little bit more depth and woodiness as it dries down. That would be the standard kind of description. So I'm going to be doing a comparison. I don't own either. I'm doing it from samples. I have smelled them loads of times in the department stores, but never felt it necessary to buy them. So I should give a disclaimer that I'm not their hugest fan. I do like them. I think they're good, but they didn't make my top 5 Chanel list. But I'm kind of thinking maybe I need one. So today I'm going to do a test and try and give you an idea to help you choose if you're trying to decide between the two, or if you have one and want to know if you perhaps need the other one too. So let's see how I get on. I'll be just showing you me throughout the day as I wear them. I'm going to put one on one hand, one on the other, and give you my thoughts on Bleu de Chanel Eau de Toilette and Eau de Parfum. So, having just applied them both a few minutes ago, as you saw there, I'll tell you what I think of the opening. This is the Eau de Toilette here. There's a very nice grapefruit freshness in this one, and it's just how I remember it. It's very pleasant, it's fresh, it's masculine, it's clean, it's a little bit soapy, it's a little bit exciting. It's nice, but it does smell like a lot of other things that we can now buy in the shops. So I'll compare that to the Eau de Parfum. This one seems to have a lot more sweetness in it. It's less of that grapefruit note, it's less sharp, and it's a little bit smoother. So out of the two, I'd have to say on the opening, this one smells more interesting to me. If you really want the bright freshness and the grapefruit opening of the EDT, then this doesn't have that really to such an extent. But it has a nice, really pleasant smoothness, and it smells a little bit more sophisticated and interesting to me. Hi, a few hours into wearing Bleu de Chanel, or the two variations. Words that come to mind to describe it, a couple of simple words. For both variations, I would say tasteful and professional would be good words to use for this fragrance. So it's definitely a good choice for work and a good all-rounder that will never offend anyone. In the case of the Eau de Parfum, I think the other word I would use is interesting. It smells quite interesting. They're both nice, but the EDT maybe not so interesting because it seems to remind me of shower gels. It reminds me of other fragrances that I smell a lot. Maybe they copied it, but nowadays it doesn't stand out. So that's just a thought at this point, and well, I'll come back for my final thoughts later. Hi everyone, so here we are. It's about a good 5 or so hours later, so I've been really through the mid stages and into the dry down on both fragrances now, and I have to say the Bleu de Chanel EDT was not bad at all. It smelled quite nice on my left hand when I kept sniffing it throughout my my afternoon. And it's very fresh. What I find slightly disappointing about it is that it does remind me of a lot of other fragrances out there these days. So it's got that kind of citrusy, maybe ambroxan-esque note. I don't think ambroxan is listed as a note, but there's something in it that does seem a little bit reminiscent of more recent releases like Dior Sauvage and other stuff that you can get now, Versace Dylan Blue. A lot of other fragrances out there have a similar overall vibe to the Eau de Toilette. Obviously, we have to give credit to the original Bleu de Chanel because it was one of the first, I think, that smelt like this of the many that now seem a little bit similar that we have today. The Eau de Parfum, I prefer. I'm not going to sit on the fence. I thought I might say, well, if you want one thing, one of them. If the other thing is your favourite, the other one. But for me, I do. Whoops. There it is. Eau de Parfum, I think, is better, or I prefer it. Let's say I prefer it. This one has less of that sharp, almost synthetic kind of citrus element. There's a bit of freshness in the opening, but it's actually a pretty different fragrance. I get more of what I would think was maybe a jasmine note, but I'm not too hot on individual notes. And I think it must be this amber that gives it a much warmer, smoother feel. It's more mature, it's a little bit more grown up. Something in the EDT actually reminds me, or makes me think a little bit of Adidas Ice Dive, which is an extremely cheap fragrance that you can buy. It's actually not bad, it's quite good for wearing to the gym or something, but it's got a sort of synthetic citrus feel that I don't find terribly, it doesn't feel like it's a very luxurious or expensive or fancy fragrance. The Eau de Parfum of Bleu de Chanel for me is more mature smelling, a little bit more complex, it's smoother, it seems a little bit richer and deeper, it's still nice and fresh. I think it would be a great choice for a signature scent for a lot of people out there. It's a great work scent. Neither of them actually perform particularly brilliantly. They're both, I'm going to just say, average. They're not really massive performers. The openings, you get a nice waft as you're going around, but after that they fade down quite quickly. So they are good daytime scents or date night scents because they're not in your face. The Parfum, I think, is smoother. I prefer it. It's a little bit more grown up, and I think it's a much better fragrance. So to me, if you're going to go for one of them, I would definitely recommend, if you want to smell a little bit different to everyone else out there, that the Eau de Parfum will achieve that to a much greater extent. The EDT, though it might have been somewhat original when it came out, will now smell like a lot of other high street designer releases that everybody, every Tom, Dick and Harry and his mother and his brother and his dog are wearing. So I think the Eau de Parfum is the winner for me. I do like it. Am I going to get a bottle? Not quite sure. It's still only maybe a 7.5, maybe an 8 out of 10 for me. Probably 7.5. And I actually still think in the same kind of mood, I'd go for Chanel's Edition Blanche, which is again citrus and woods, and just seems a little bit more interesting and different to me. But the Eau de Parfum has a certain something going for it. I do like it, so it is a very decent fragrance, and you've got to give it credit as a really good all-rounder from Chanel. Let me know what you guys think of Bleu de Chanel. Do you prefer the EDT or the EDP, or neither, or do you love both? Does anyone own both? Do they serve different purposes? What do you think? Let me know. Interested to hear your thoughts. Remember, whatever we're doing in life, let's project, whether it be Bleu de Chanel, Bogart Pour Homme, or anything else you like. See you soon. Bye-bye.